Good morning, everybody. Very, very good morning. Very good morning. Hey, good morning, guys. Come on. Yeah, thank you very much. Thank you. You are my customers for the next half an hour, and I can't allow you to sleep. Neither you can allow me to sleep, so I think I'm awake. When Ajay and Swami were probably researching for this conference, probably they understood from the customer or the client list here that you required to talk about the future, the technology, and how data sciences can make a difference. But in order to talk about the future, they had to get past in. And I didn't realize that the topic that Sangeet is going to talk about is going to pipe to platform. But the mistake they did is they got the platform first and the pipe later on. Yeah? So anyhow, thank you, Ajay, for inviting me. It's a pleasure. He asked me saying, can I talk about how did we create customer centricity in ShopStop? The only one word that I can tell you is ignorance. Because all of us who were there were absolutely ignorant about our business. When I started ShopStop in 1991 as the first employee, and we had a group of 13 odd employees who were there with me in a 2,500 square feet store, which was probably 1/4 of this, and today we have close to 40 million square feet, and from about the first employee, today we have 40,000 people who work in the group. We were totally ignorant. We had never worked in garment retailing. None of us were from the business of fashion. So the first thing that we had to do was we had to learn the business. And for us to learn the business, there's nobody else who can teach the business better than the customer. So this all started off with talking to the customers. And I keep wondering, in today's world when we're talking of data sciences, connectivity, the world of Uber and the world of Olas and the Airbnbs, that apart from the analytics that we do and get the insight about the customers, when do we get a chance about talking to the customer or understanding the customer a little better? Because even the Amazon today delivers out of a courier boy who goes and says, I am from delivery and not from Amazon. I'm not talking Amazon particularly. They have their own delivery. So let me tell you a few stories and then take you further from there. A customer bought a lot of fabric from us in 1992. That was the first time we sold almost 1 lakh worth of fabric to a customer. And this customer was from US. We committed delivery to him on a particular day. On that day, we had a huge problem in Mumbai, 1992. And the whole Mumbai was closed for 3 days, and the customer had to fly back to US. The customer went back to US, but before going, he called up our store manager, that time a gentleman called Raymond Colaco, and Raymond said, don't worry, sir, I'll deliver it to you. Without even thinking that he's talking of delivery to US of garments worth 1 lakh of rupees, where he had already given a discount of 10%. The gross margin was only 20%, so only 10% was left. He thought it's so simple, we just put it in a courier and send it across. When he went to the courier company, they said the law doesn't permit you to export fully made garments. The only way you can do is you have to cut the buttons off, send the buttons in a separate courier and the garment in a separate courier. That was the law at that time, export regulated. So he says, not to worry, I'll anyhow get it delivered. He went and spoke to an Air India friend of his who has free tickets. He says, I'll give you half the ticket price. Will you go and deliver it to US and come back? He said, fantastic. So that time, I think the cost of that flight ticket was 23,000 rupees. Mr. Raymond decided to give him 11,000 rupees or 12,000 rupees. And a friend of his took the parcel in his suitcase and went and delivered to US and came back. All this happened. We had no clue about this. I was the so-called boss or the store manager. I had no clue about this transaction. After 3 years, we were analyzing this department. I had made friends with Swami, so Swami started teaching me how to analyze things. So we started analyzing, and we said, something is happening to this department. There's a group of customers from a particular PIN code in US who actually keep coming and shopping. Now, why are the people from US coming to shop with us in a fabric department? And with Raymond stores being there, we were a small fabric department. We actually realized that this customer, a Gujarati gentleman, who actually took delivery of this 100,000 rupees worth of merchandise because of Mr. Raymond's generosity, actually had told everybody, if ever you want to get fabric, ever you want to buy garments, please go to ShopStop. And ShopStop was not famous for fabric. That's one story about a gentleman. Now, what is this about? This is about empowerment. This is about a culture of empowerment for customer service. Now, I don't know how technology helps in empowering. Let me give you one more example which happened to me personally 3 days back. I wanted to foreclose a loan, one of the top multinational banks. I had requested to say that please give me a foreclosure. I'm going to come on the 4th and pay my money, a very large sum of money. And abundant caution, I wrote to them 14 days back, just for abundant caution, but said I'm going to come on the 4th. When I went on the 4th to the bank, they said, but we can't accept it. I said, why? They said, this letter was dated 14 days back, and as per our policy, the check should have got encashed before the 15th day. So I said, it's a high-value check, put it in your bank, it will go off in the next 2 minutes' time. He says, no, our process says the check has to be couriered to the mortgage department, and they are going to present the check. So if I courier it today, it will reach tomorrow, tomorrow becomes the 15th day. So I said, what can I do about it? They said, please talk to them. I said, who is them? The mortgage department. I'm talking of a very large global multinational bank. I said, aren't you they together the B? He says, no, we are banking, they are mortgage department. Fantastic. I said, can I call somebody? He said, yes, you can call the customer care department. These are the numbers. I said, but customer care will not sort out. He said, that's the only process that we have. But you call the customer, they'll pick up in 3 seconds. I called up the customer care, 3 seconds they picked up. They told me the same thing. They said, you should have calculated the number of days. I said, but I don't know the number of days. Anyhow, cutting the story short, finally, I had to call center and ask them for a resubmission of the same letter. So now I'm going to get a letter in the next 1 week's time, and I have to ensure that I deposit in the 8th or 9th day so that the 14th day is not enough. On the customer care, when I asked them to say, can I please talk to the hire manager, they said, no, this is how the process is, this is what it is. So fantastic technology, fantastic process, and absolutely wonderful. But to me, the question is, what happened to the bank manager who could have just picked, it's a very large amount, very large amount. I had sold a lot of shares to get this amount to pay them back, and the amount is in my account lying for the last 3 days because I can't even take a 3 days, I have to go and set it back into a liquid fund. Now, this is what is important. If this organization could have driven a culture in the organization just to say, here's a high-value customer, can I pick up and talk to somebody? Is there any solution to this? And to me, that, I think, gentlemen, is very, very important. Ladies and gentlemen, it's very important to build any organization where you have to build customer centricity. Because the last mile connect is very, very important. I know today we are talking of, and Sangeet talked about the connect being happening out of technology, and it's a platform where you have a producer and you have a user, and there's a platform. But the question that we have to ask is, who is accountable for the final delivery? Is it the platform, or is it the producer? Or is the user himself accountable for asking and getting his service delivered? I mean, this is a big question. In the second case, it was the user asking for customer service delivery, but I didn't get the customer service delivery because the technology in the process actually stopped him from delivering. And the organization did not empower the individual to do that. I mean, this is a big challenge. And that's why my question to Sangeet was, what is the change or the organizational culture shift that we want? How do we bring in customer centricity? For example, all of you are heads of marketing, CIOs, CEOs. Let me ask a question. If you are in the heart of a very serious review meeting, and let's say you are the CEO, and your secretary says there's an emergency, a customer is calling up, and he wants to talk to you. Keep your hand on your heart and ask, what would you do? When I ask this question one-on-one, most of them say, I will ask my secretary to ask this chief operating officer or the head of retail to call up. Then I say, okay, you're in the center of a meeting, and you have a secretary intruding and saying, sir, there's a call from the chairman of a bank, and he wants to speak to you very urgently. What would you do? 99% of them said, we'll go and take up the call. In the first case, it was a customer who had ordered for a wedding dress for his daughter, and tomorrow is the wedding dress had not reached. In the second case, the chairman wanted to ask whether his son can do internship with this company. Now, please decide for yourself, how do you bring in customer centricity? Now, I'm saying this again to do with culture. So first question I keep asking is the customer there in any part of your reviews, discussions, budgets, plans? You plan for revenues, you plan for customers. Is the customer part of your discussions? A lot of boards they spend hours together, but the customer comes only 5 minutes. A lot of marketing heads are responsible for delivering customer service, creating a customer-centric organization, but the powers are not left with the marketing heads. So they are not empowered, and unfortunately, the marketing heads do not want to empower themselves. So empowerment is not about somebody giving it. Empowerment is also about how can you take it for somebody. So in the journey of shoppers, what Ajay said was cards was actually not even visiting cards. What we used to do was we used to collect small, what happened was every day I used to be standing outside with Raymond and all of us and talking to customers. It was a small 2,000 square foot shop. Everybody from Andheri SV Road, they used to come again and again because there was a new shop. They'll come walking, whether they buy or not buy. And again ask him, sir, why didn't you buy anything? Can I do something different? So they got fed up of me. And they said, every time you ask the same question every day, why are you doing this? So I thought, let me do something else. He says, can you put your name and number on a chit? We'll take a lucky dip every day and we'll give a 100 rupees gift voucher. So they started giving me names and chits because 100 rupee gift voucher was very big. And only one gift voucher a day, 100 rupees. We used to have people who used to come and stand and wait for the voucher to be taken out. After 4, 5, 6 months, my secretary left and a new secretary joined me. And she said, Mr. Nagesh, there's a carton lying in your office, which has got some small white papers. And when I actually opened the carton, there were 40,000 chits like this. We had met 40,000 customers individually. Okay, again, ignorance. Huh? That time, neither my brain nor my knowledge nor my background said that we need to create a database and do this. But we said, oh, these were my first customers. I used to talk to them so regularly. And that's when we said, can we put this into database? Put this in database, 40,000 people. And we said they were our first customers, so we called them first citizens. And today that 40,000 is close to 4 million. 73% or 74% of the business happens from these known customers. In the worst of recessionary stages, the company has continued to maintain its growth, basically because it could, out of relationship with the first citizen customers, actually get incremental business. To the extent I can tell you, there was a year where we went into a huge loss. And we had committed to the board that we'll convert this into a 1 rupee profit, from a 26 crores profit to a 1 rupee profit in 1 year's time. And on the 20th of the month, we realized that we won't be able to make this 1 rupee. There's no way we can get this 1 rupee profit because the way it was going. So I decided that I'll write to a few hundred or 1,000 customers saying that we are going to be short of budget, okay? And we want you to come and shop with us. Can you believe this? That and the option that we had, the management team, that if on the 31st we don't achieve a target, we will not take our salaries. There are 12 of us. So if 12 of us don't take the salary, we would have made a 1 rupee profit, or made more than 1 rupee profit. So I said, no, but before we take that call, let me take this call of writing to a few hundred, just a few hundred customers, and say that I'm short of budget, and can you come and shop with us? They came and shopped with us, and we actually met our budgets, and we took our salaries home. Now, to me, what I'm trying to stress here is that using the technology, or using the database, using the analytics, the question is this personalized way of saying, you are my customer, but we are together in this. I'm short of budget. If your friend was short of budget, you would have helped him. Will you help me out? How do we build this culture of relationship between an organization and the last mile, organization and the customer? For example, when I talk to FMCG players and ask them, which is your last mile? What is your last mile? And he says, my last mile is my retailer. And when I talk to the consumers like you and say, which is your first mile, or who is your first mile, they tell me it is the retailer's employee who delivers home. It is the chotu who comes home, is actually the first mile. But there's no connect between the last mile and the first mile. So this trust that we have started off called the trust for retailers, retail associates, is actually to work for the benefit of these 35 million people who are the last mile connect between the customers and the brand or on the business. So coming to customer centricity, 2 or 3 things that happened as we built. First is ignorance made us do everything starting from customer first. So everything that we built up in the organization those days, even today, to a very great extent, always started from customer first. So my recommendation is, I agree with the platform, fully theory, I agree with the producer, but I would say, is it possible to start with the user first? Because that gives you an insight which you would otherwise not get. I know, data analytics, all that I agree. The second thing is customer centricity part of your value system in the organization? I mean, all of us, right, we want to be the top 3 organization, we want to be the most profitable organization, our values integrity, our values this, our values that, but is customer part of a value system? Because only then you develop a culture where you're able to actually delivered to the consumer, to the customer. That's the second part of it. Third part of it is customer the job of the front-end associate or the person who's serving the customer, in this case, the sales associate, in the case of a call center, or in this case of the bank, actually the last mile was that the person in the customer care who probably was not even part of the banking system, was a BPO employee who had no relationship with the bank. So ask this question that who is responsible for customer centricity? And I believe that everybody in the organization has to be part of customer centricity, and that can only happen if it is a culture. If you start working on job description and role modeling, then it is very difficult to write customer in every job description, every role model. But unless you are able to do that, you'll actually find it very difficult, especially in today's age, because in today's age, you don't know who's contacting whom and who's actually the brand ambassador. So for that, although we did this with a very different thought, there was a big challenge in the company. I had 2 of my best guys out of the 14 who left us very early days. And when I asked them why they are leaving, they said, no, I want to marry my girlfriend, and my father-in-law is saying that as long as you're called a salesman, I will not marry my daughter to you. And this is true story. This is not a Munna Bhai story. This is true. This happened to me. And I said, if this is what is going to happen, what will happen to us? We are growing the business. So I said, we are all in the business of customer care. So we actually changed the designation from a sales associate to customer care associate. This is in 1991. And I said, you are a customer care associate. I am a customer care associate. Ajay is a customer care associate. Uma was there with us. She's a customer care associate. All of us have to be only one thing, customer care associate. That's our job. So we actually changed the whole designation of the company. Everybody in Shoppers Stop in 1991 and today in 2016 has only one designation called customer care associate. What it did was that when we walking the floor of the store, okay, and a customer comes and says, can you please help me out? You can't say no. Or if somebody calls you up and by chance the ring comes into your office, you can't say no because you are a customer care associate. So one shift that we did for some other reason actually brought in a huge change in the organization. But everybody would say, if I'll go with a junior person for a meeting, I'll give my card which will say customer care associate and MD, and he will give a card saying customer care associate and marketing manager. So, but the first level of equalization was the common designation all across the company. I don't know how many companies in the world have this, but at least I know that customer care associate is now a registered designation of Shoppers Stop, and it's been there for years. So is customer centricity part of your organizational value? And do you measure and ask questions about customer delivery at every level, every quarter, every performance appraisal? I think that is very, very important. So when we realized that this is something which was a challenge, we also brought in measuring the customer satisfaction at a very early stage, maybe 15 years, 20 years back, or 25 years back, and started measuring customer satisfaction and correlating customer satisfaction with employee satisfaction and vendor, whom we call as partners, partner satisfaction. Because we said customer centricity cannot be brought only by the organization and its employees. It has to be for the whole ecosystem. And Sangeet mentioned about the whole ecosystem many a times. The question is, if you are part of an ecosystem, and those days are gone when vendors were sitting opposite our table. Today it's not this, especially in the platform system. The vendors are sitting next to me, and we are actually addressing the consumer. Platform may be in the center in his diagram, but it's the two of us are sitting together. So we very early brought in this customer satisfaction index, employee satisfaction index, and partner satisfaction index. And every employee in the organization, including me, up to me. I mean, there have been years when the revenue budgets have been achieved 100% as managing director or CEO, but my customer satisfaction score did not move up, and I ended up with a 70% incentive or an 80% incentive. So everybody in the company, right from the bottommost person to the topmost person, was linked to performance and customer satisfaction, employee satisfaction, partner satisfaction. And we started measuring, and we actually saw a very strong correlation between employee satisfaction, partner satisfaction to the customer satisfaction. And we went to an extent that we have to go and look at the annual report of Shoppers very early, maybe 8 years, 10 years. When we went public, right from day one, you'll find that the customer satisfaction, employee satisfaction, and the partner satisfaction indexes are mentioned year on year on year. So as shareholders, you're able to see. So first is it part of your values culture? Second is, do you make everybody accountable for customer centricity? The third is, do you measure everybody in the company for customer centricity? I mean, your accountant is not measured on customer centricity. He doesn't deliver full satisfaction to your best vendor. The best vendor has a capacity which is any day can be pulled off by a competitor, and he gets frustrated and says, everything is good here, but when I go to accounts department or shoppers, they stink. I hell with it. I don't want to work with them. And the vendor moves over to lifestyle. And you have not realized that that particular category was a driver of a very large household consumption happening in your store. So you've not lost only that category, but you've lost also the whole household. And this to me is extremely important organization. I can give you many stories of organizations which have done this or where you can actually bring in this, but it has to be part of your culture. So do you have measures? Are you making people accountable for this? And lastly, are you using the data and the insights of the consumers that you're dealing with and actually ensuring that you are able to give them benefits where they see it as an integral part of their relationship with you? I mean, a lot of us have data, a lot of us have information, but probably we have very little insight. I mean, even today, although I don't operate shoppers on a regular basis, I'm on a non-executive role now, but I keep asking, and when people ask me, I say we would give probably 5 on 10 or 6 on 10 on the way we use our data. Don't forget, we have 22 years of history of 4 million consumers who shop 73%. So this year with 3,000 crores, yeah? And we have had situations where we've been able to swing our business by 1 to 2% just using the data and the insight. But if we start using the insight in a better way, probably we could be able to swing it by 10%, 12%. So there's a long way to go in using data, using insights. But we stop at information and data and we talk about, everybody talks, oh, I have a great data science department, this department, that department. At the end of the day, we don't get the insights out. When we get the insights, we are not able to use it. One of the reasons why we are not able to use it, because the organization is not tuned to look at, organization as a whole is not tuned to look at the customer data, customer insights. Because most of the organizations actually put the customer insights as part of marketing or part of an insights department. But in a retail scenario, the customer insights has to be really seen by the merchandisers and the buyers. They are the people who need to understand what to buy. Now, one thing, Sangeet, I'm just leaving this question for you to think. In a retail store of 50,000 square feet, you keep 38,000 SKUs. When you ask a consumer, why do you go to a retail store? She says, you know, there are millions of SKUs in the business ecosystem. I go to a physical store because from millions, they brought it down to 38,000. Okay, but still, you know, I don't like. Some of them go to a small boutique. If you ask a lot of women, they go to a boutique. There's just about 500 SKUs they pick up. They like, they love what they buy. With so much of data and so much of insights, why does an Amazon, a Snapdeal, a Flipkart talk about we have 30 million books? Okay, if you go today to an internet, especially if you ask the women, to be able to come to a decision, 1 or 2 or 3 options, they have to look at sometimes 100 options, 200 options, 300 options. So I'm saying you have data, you have insight. Very few people are able to curate it in a way that if Nagesh comes out, then I know these are the 10 options I'll give. I am looking at data and insights to curate what Nagesh wants. That's what the producer has to do for the user. A platform cannot become a platform where you have 500 trains coming and going and you can jump into any train you want. It has to give me the right train, the right bogie, the right seat for me. Now, is that something that as organizations we are creating so that we can actually use the data sciences, the insights to make our journey very, very happy and helpful? Not for us, it happens, but for the consumer. Although we are talking of customer-centric organization, I just want to leave one last thought. A lot of data and insights are being gathered for people who are outside users, our consumers who are in millions. But unfortunately, we are not using the same insights and data in our HR processes to actually take an insight of our employees. If we are able to use the same technology that we have, I know some of the organizations use, but as a general, and actually understand our employees better. Employees are dispersed. In the technology world today, a guy sitting next door also send a WhatsApp and say, hi, can we go for a smoke? I mean, in our world, we used to say, hey, guy, chalega smoke ke liye. And we used to go for a smoke, but it goes through a WhatsApp. So in a situation like this, how do we understand our employees better? So if all of us together can, I am not saying please start with ignorance, no more. I mean, that was my 1991 story. I mean, if all of us can create a clear value in the organization of customer centricity, behave and walk the talk of the customer centricity. In a case of Raymond Colaco, is the employee empowered to take the decision? I'm not saying break the process, but use the process technology, the bank example. You could have just used the process and technology, picked up the call and said, here's a customer, his money is here. If I put the check in the account here, instead of sending to mortgage, everything will be peaceful. Guy will go, we'll have money in the bank. Didn't happen. So how do you really get all these things together and then create an organization which can help you create happiness all around? Customers, employees, and of course the stakeholders. Thank you very much for inviting me, and thank you for this. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Nagesh. We would like you to stay back. I'm sure your talk has opened up a lot of minds, and there'll be a lot of questions also. So questions, please.
Fabulous. That's all that I can say about that talk. My name is Rajiv Tatkar. We are into, of course, something else altogether, healthcare. My question to you really is, what's it that's preventing an organization like yours, which has such a great amount of insights into customers, from becoming a Walmart or the equivalent of it?
We would want to become an equivalent of Walmart, but in today's circumstances, we would not want to become Walmart because Walmart is wanting to become an Amazon. Okay? So I think most of the brick and mortar stores have learned a way to look at only one way of viewing the customer. And unfortunately, the whole online system is also looking at viewing the customer in one way. So organization like ours, organization like a brick and mortar, people who are actually journeying themselves, and of course a lot of press is talking about the omni-channel journey, and some of them have succeeded very, very well. If you look at Nordstrom, you look at John Lewis, you look at Saks, I mean, they have succeeded very well. They will be journeying from the brick and mortar to the online and putting technology together. And you must appreciate and understand that these are all traditional organizations sitting with their own kind of technology. They're moving towards getting a one view of the customers. And I can tell you and bet you that those of us who invested very heavily, 50, 60, 100, 200 crores have gone into the system. In the next 12 months or 15 months, those of you are going to be able to get a full view of the customers, both from brick and mortar and online, actually will beat many of the current incumbents and the new insurgents who are coming in, especially from the online space. So the process is on, but you need to get a one view, which is a slightly different technology to use to put them together. And then what will happen is that brick and mortar will go to probably 100 towns, but through the click, through the online, will go to 1,000 towns. So the journey is happening. We've still not seen a big success in India because it's all started just 12 months back. But internationally, I mean, globally, if you talk of John Lewis in UK, it's a big, big success. Waitrose is a big success. Nordstrom is a success. I mean, there are a lot of them who have created such successes by using new technology. I think that is on the way. You will see that happening.
Nagesh, thank you for your very interesting insights. I am Arijit Ghoshal. I represent Godfrey Phillips India. My question is, it was a very interesting anecdote that you shared, that you personally took pains to interact with the consumers coming out of your store, whether they were buying or not buying. My curiosity as a marketing head is also, when your customer base grows from few thousands to millions as you are right now, and you go to say, quote unquote, further and further in the echelons from the consumer, how do you keep getting that exact insight which you got when you actually interacted with them? Because now it is no longer feasible. I, as a consumer of Shoppers Stop, have been a first citizen customer for I think 10 years now, but I don't remember having any survey, etc. coming from Shoppers Stop. More importantly, if it had come to me, what would it make a customer like me to respond to it for you to get a good insight? I grapple with such challenges as a marketing head day on. So I would be very interested to know, how do you manage that?
So let me give you one example of what I saw in Hypercity when I was walking along with the Pepsi director who had come with us. And there were Pepsi, when there were 5 of them who were walking along with me next to them. And suddenly this gentleman just left all of us and ran. And I, out of curiosity, went behind him. So there's a consumer who had a trolley full going into the cash till, and she had a full crate of Coke in it. So this guy just ran, and before she went to the cash till, I don't know what he did. He spoke to her, and then got the trolley back, and then again came into the aisle. And next moment I see that she has taken the Coke crate and put the Pepsi crate. He went along with her, saw that she billed, and after the checkout he said bye-bye, thank you, and came back for the meeting. One thing that we observed is he was paranoid about understanding why did this customer buy Coke instead of Pepsi. Yeah? Now, I'm not saying that you need to go to a store every day. Okay, I'm not saying that at all. Today, out of the data, out of the insights, you can actually get a lot of things. But visiting a store is extremely important. A lot of you have done this in your early years because you were doing the sales calls. I mean, today what's happened is 50% of the business in this country happens on Saturday, Sunday. And other 50% of the business in a weekday happens between 6 to 9. All FMCGs are 5-day working. All FMCGs after 6 o'clock don't go to the market. So I'm saying that we have created a system whereby we are stopping ourselves with interacting with consumer, believing that only data and insights will help us. I am not saying no to it. I am saying data and insights are important, but if you add up few percentage to meeting the consumers, yes. In terms of the surveys, the Shopper Stopper, the First Citizen example, what we are doing now, or at least attempting to do, is we are realizing that our customer care associates who serve the customers have tremendous insights of the customers. For example, in your case, your retailer or the Kirana, or the Ramji Bhai, he has tremendous insight about your consumers. But most of the times you're interacting with your distributor or stockist. So if you can create a technology, and it's available, for you to get feedback from your retailer or from the Kirana guy, like we are trying to now get it from our customer care associate on the front end, I think it is solving a lot of issues. Not reaching to you is probably an issue of the organization. I mean, they should have reached to some of you to keep getting the feedback. Yeah?
How's your customer care associate inputting the data into your system? How is that happening actually?
No. So what happens is that every day morning, okay, the store manager who does the morning huddle actually checks up from the customer. See, because whatever we sell, we get to know.
Sure.
We know you have come and bought it.
Sure.
The challenge for all retailers and all FMCG players are what we don't sell, we don't know anything about it.
Absolutely.
Okay, so our attempt is to know what we have not sold, why we have not sold, and that is captured and fed back into the system from the store management. So they capture 1 or 2 insights every day morning and feed it into the system.
Okay. Yeah. Thanks.
Morning, Nagesh.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm standing here.
Yep. Yeah. Hello.
Yeah, I'm Sujit Sna from HDFC Ergo, and I head the risk and loss mitigation department. And more often than not, that I become a villain when it comes to customer centricity. And I'll tell you why. There's rampant fraud when it comes to insurance sector. That's almost about 10%. And when we talk in terms of revenue, it's about 6,000 to 7,000 crores, probably more than the largest private sector company has. And what happens because of this, about the honest policyholders, they'll end up paying. Now, how do you handle these people? They are the very smart people. They are syndicates. There's syndicates being backed by police people, by lawyers, and they put so much of pressure through the regulators, and they also know where to escalate. So the escalation level 1 is CEO itself. And what happens, the whole organization gets shaken thereafter. Please close the claim, please settle the claim at the earliest. So how do you handle this kind of thing?
I don't understand your business, but we have similar issues in the retail business. I mean, on average, a retailer loses about 1.5% as shrinkage globally. So you can imagine a Walmart probably has a 0.5%, 0.6%, but $500 billion, 0.5% is loss as shrinkage. Or in a shopper's environment, 4,000 crores, 0.4%. So we have lost 16 crores as shrinkage. So that's there. One of the key, and you mentioned, is that 99% of the time, our policies are made for this 1%. So, and we apply the 1% policy to the 99% of the customers, like you actually said. Our attempt in our business was, we know that 0.4% is the shrinkage, and we have accounted that as part of the budget. Our worry starts when 0.4 becomes 0.6, the 0.2. We don't worry about the 0.4 because we have taken it as. So all the policies are attempted to made for the 99.6% and not worrying about the 0.4 going to 0.6. And that's where some way it helps us in ensuring that at least other customers are treated well. I fully appreciate what you're saying. From a risk perspective, you don't know who is a risky customer. But I think that's the method that technology plus one-to-one interaction has to help. I don't see any other way of handling it. The moment a retailer thinks that he loses 0.5% or 1%, which means out of million customer, X numbers are actually shoplifters, but he believes every customer entering the door is a chore, I mean, we are going to have some serious trouble in the business. And we'll have to probably find our own methods to sort this out.
No, issue is, whether you are serving the customer right, you are serving him wrong. What happens, all these fraudsters, this 10% of these people, they thrive on the other 90.
No.
So what happens? Let's say somebody makes a claim of 1 crore. The cost of it is not borne by the company. What will do in the product, it will increase the price.
Yeah,
and which is borne by the honest people, honest customers.
No, but that
so now, are you serving the customer or are you not serving the customer? That's the point.
No. First of all, I think that customer, honest customer, is dealing with the wrong organization. Because if the industry norm is 6%, then all of you have accounted for 6% in the cost of the premium you are charging for the other 94. But if the industry norm is 1%, then you have no means to have it at 6%. I think that's the first issue. But even if you have the 6%, that's the way the average law works. I mean, all of us sitting here, honest taxpayers, are also paying for those dishonest taxpayers probably sitting inside the room or outside. But we can't actually serve that system. But I'm saying, can you correct your 94 to become 96? But don't create an organizational structure and a customer centricity plan, which as a plan is wanting to penalize the other 94. That to me is a serious issue. Yeah. Yes, please.
I'm Ram Agarwal. You're talking of customer satisfaction in the corporate world. Bhutan has got an index called Gross Happiness Index. Can you throw some light on how India can evolve that policy?
Well, I don't think I'm capable of doing that, but like I mentioned to you,
the currency is happiness.
No, I fully agree, and I must share this example with you that I was in Bhutan 3 years back, and it so happened that during the 6 days that we were there, 4 days Bhutan was closed. Okay, there was that king's birthday and their annual day and something. All shops were closed. I couldn't believe that for 4 days the shopkeepers had closed their shops. So there was nothing except for eating in the hotel and a few things. So we went into some garden and we saw thousands of people sitting and picnicking. So I just asked all of them. So I said, aren't you worried about losing the business? He says, no, in the balance 6 days we'll get our business. I mean, look at the whole mentality. Maybe this is the way they have built the cognition, the way they have built the culture. I mean, in India, we open from morning 10 to evening 10, and we are talking to the government, can we open up to 11 now? So I think it's also to do with the way we are built in. But I can only tell you this much, that there is enough evidence to say a happy employee delivers a better customer service. There is no doubt about it. And it's enough evidence to say that the back office has to be made customer-centric more than the front office. We are doing thousands of man-hours of training, teaching all the salesmen in the world as to how they should be customer-centric. I have not seen organizations which have spent even hundreds of man-hours teaching their CEOs, managing directors, chief operating officers, chief marketing officers to say how they should be customer-centric. Let's do a call right now. How many of you are marketing managers in this room? Raise your hands, please. Okay, be very honest. How many of you have done a training on customer centricity in the last 1 year? Not one. In the last 2 years? Not one. In the last 3 years? Not one. One. This is what it is. Since you don't know, but still let me ask you. How many of you, the guys who raised their hands, in your organization, you have had customer service and customer-centric training done for your front-end people? 1, 2. Perfectly.
I've been a part of, including my CEO, and everybody has been a part
That's
of
why
customer
Mr. Piramal has 22,000 crores of AUM. So, yeah.
including
Wonderful.
Mr. Ajay Piramal. Even
Fantastic.
he went through
I think
that training
that's what
module,
is
yeah.
required to build the customer centricity across. Good.
I'm sure you'll hate me for breaking this chain of thought, but in the interest of time, we'll have to move on. Like I said...
Hello. Excuse me. Please
Yes,
give
sir.
me 2 minutes.
We have the tea break after this. If you can interact with Mr. Nagesh during the break, that should be good. Is that?
I think the question is for the benefits of all.
Sure, please go ahead.
So, see, customer concentricity, what we are talking, and customer satisfaction, what we are talking, are two different things. One thing is what we have seen from this lecture, that Shoppers Stop has definitely increased the number of customers. But the subject what probably we should discuss is, if I have a one customer, if he's using my one product, how do I concentrate so that he uses 5 of my products? I'm sorry, but I am 22-year-old customer of Shoppers Stops. But what I used to purchase that time was ready-made garments from your shop. But I have not bought anything else other than this.
I'll give you.
So,
I'll give you an
so
answer
I'm
for
not
that.
asking you your activities, but my point is, concentricity is, if one product I am buying, if my customer is buying, then what I did that he buys 10 products over a period of time.
I'll give you a very, that's an excellent question. And I think that's where what Sangeet said and what probably Hansa Cequity does work becomes very, very important. And this is amazing, your question. What we realized is that most of the time when we set targets and budgets, we set targets and budgets on the basis of growth because the country is wanting to grow. And I'll give you a fantastic example. You have 4 million customers, they contribute 73% business. The company wants to grow by 10%, and therefore we have said that we need to grow by 10% or 11%. And therefore we are saying that Mr. Ajay, who's to buy worth 50,000 rupees a year, we want him to buy 56,000 rupees. We do not know Ajay's total spend. So you'll be surprised that when we checked up with a lot of our customers, last year Ajay's total spend was 1 lakh. He bought 50,000 from us. And we are saying we want to increase it to 55,000. By increasing to 55,000, we got a 10% increase and we are clapping for ourselves. Ajay last year spent 1 lakh of rupees. He's got a huge bonus. Hansa Cequity has done very well. And instead of 1 lakh, he started shopping 2 lakhs. In reality, in spite of a 10% growth, our share of Ajay's wardrobe has dropped by 50%. So what you asked is perfect, because in a situation like ours, we only want to increase our share in the customer's wardrobe as a growth, because we do not want to check, and this is a lacuna that we have in our system, because we don't know how he's spending other ways. When we got to know from his credit card companies and did some analysis, we actually found that our share is coming down, number one. Number two is also what's happening is, in this whole world where the consumption is going up, and there's a deflationary impact on most of the merchandise because of the online discounting and the discounting. I met a customer and I was talking to him. I said, you know, last year also 10,000 you purchased, this year also 10,000. He said, that's what you think. He said, last year I purchased 20 garments, this year I purchased 30 garments. But last year I paid 10,000 for the 20 garments, and this year I'm paying 10,000 for the 30 garments. So I think the more we understand the customer, understand his overall shopping, and then start looking at a share of his wardrobe or a share of his kitchen, it becomes much better for us, and that's where the insights will come easier for us. Instead of saying that I want to grow this customer by 10%. So a different way of looking at the insight will probably give us a much better results to this.
Thank you so much, Mr. Nagesh.
Thank you very much.
I'd like to invite Swami to hand over a token of appreciation to Mr. Nagesh, please. Thank you, sir. Well, I can see that the tone is set really well. Let's take a quick, short 10-minute break for tea, and we'll come back for more sessions. Thank you so much.